please, and a reminder, if you would, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. When speaking during the meeting, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and speak loudly and clearly. Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and before we approve the agenda, I would like to make a motion that we remove item number 4 from the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 2-0. Okay, then
I'll move the approval of the agenda, less item 4.
Gotcha. And I'll second that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 2-0. Very good. Item number 2, approval of the meeting minutes from July 16th, 2024.
I'll move it.
I'll second it. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 2-0. Item number 3, approval of claims. And I would call on Shane Albrecht from Baker Group to give us an overview of that, please.
Yeah, so right now on our thing, there's basically 4 claims this month. It's one basically pay request PR35 from Hausman. First bill up on the screen. I'm trying to zoom in to give everybody a chance to see what I'm looking at. I've done it now. Okay. All right. First bill up on the screen is $10,188. That is from Frederickson. That's our bill for our attorney. The next bill is for Hausman. The reason it's in 3 different buckets is just the fund it's paid out for. It's just one bill from Hausman. It's pay out 35. So the first number is $212,253.32. The next one is $9,500. And the final one is $44,357.16. If Dennis would be here, Dennis right now will tell you, based on these different funds that are showing right here, I've got up on the screen right now, that's why the numbers are the way they are. We had left in ARPA funds on our last financial report, $212,000. So first they spent the rest of our ARPA money. That's why that's a separate line item. And then we had stuff coming out of the construction, stuff coming out of the contingency, which are 2 different accounts, which is why you have these 2 different numbers to hit Hausman's overall bill.
Okay.
Good.
Any questions?
And we originally didn't get lien waivers with it. We sent an email to make sure we got our lien waivers before we would approve this. And for Mr. Moore, he'll be super happy to know that I do have all the lien waivers in place for this as well.
Makes me happy, thank you.
I would move approval.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Some good stuff.
Mr. Chairman, if it'd be okay, I'd like to speak just a second on the financial report before we move on.
Okay.
So I talked with Dennis yesterday. He did not have a report done, but he wanted everybody to realize, basically, our accounts are the same, minus what I just did. So our accounts are the same as last time, for everybody that still has a report from last time. We just took the one ARPA one out, we negated that out.
Sure.
We had just a little bit of interest coming in. So our other balance is just over $400,000 in what we call a miscellaneous fund. And all the rest of the funds are basically the same.
Sure.
We didn't have that much of interest. So I just wanted to give everybody, that was what Dennis wanted me to give an update because I didn't have a document to hand out. That's why you would need it. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Right, item number 5 on our agenda today is discussion on the LEC open house, and included in the package that you received today was a list of potential invitees. Maybe if we could just go down through those, and then obviously let you know that we're open, obviously, to expanding the list if you have some ideas.
So, Mr. Chairman, would you like me?
Yes,
Because
go ahead.
it's going to
Yes.
be too hard for everybody to see that are here as the public.
Sure.
So there is 31 different entities, not just people. So it starts off, we've got authority members, GGA, Baker Group, Hausman Construction, the Sheriff's Office, judges/courts, county attorney's office, jail administration, building services, board of supervisor, mayor and city council, and then the mayors of surrounding communities, the governor, state senators, state representatives, national senators, national representatives, former President Trump, county employees, contractors that are local to here, USMS, former sheriffs, emergency management director, city manager, 911 board, attorney general, city attorney, project attorneys, must be Sioux City Police Chief and Sergeant Bluff, Chief of Police. We also had an email come in, a person thought that it would be nice to invite the fire chief as well out there for a tour, so.
Might wanna add Mobille's chief of police, since they're
Alright.
not the odd man out. I think those are the only three that are in the county, Sioux City, Sergeant Bluff, and Mobile.
Okay, and,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
last meeting it was requested that Judge Hoffbarner get a invitation. I see Judge Hoffbarner's name not on the list. Can I ask to add him too?
yes.
Judge, Kenny, Kevin, supervisors, anybody public-wise that we're missing here?
It's an open house, correct?
It's what?
It's an
Open house, anybody can come, we just wanna make sure that people that are getting special invites too, but it's an open house, anybody can come.
It's all for taxpayers.
Yes. It's done as an open house, we're gonna, right now we're setting up to do groups of tours through the parts of the jail that of course you can see, and that'll be determined by the sheriff's office. But we'll set up and we'll have different, tour guides out there for it, depending on the people. Okay? Anything?
You might wanna add state public defender's office.
Okay.
Use the buildings.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The State Public Defender's Office.
Okay.
I know we, local subcontractors on the job have been invited, we want to make just an invitation, just an invitation to.
Yeah, so we've got Thompson, Sewer, and Winkler listed as,
Okay.
as the local ones. Mr. Burrows?
Yeah, that's it, but as long as you're inviting, former President Trump, I think you should invite President Biden and Vice President, the Vice President, of course, come on.
Yes. Very good.
Adam Bo.
Do you think we should extend an invitation to the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals?
I would say maybe the, District 3 representatives, so it would be David May from the Supreme Court, and probably Julie Schumacher from the Court of Appeals, although I think she might already be included.
I would just invite everyone, all of the justices and judges. Yeah, that'd be better.
Okay.
Okay,
With a suggestion, go along with the state jail inspector. I think you might see the finished product, they do the other ones twice.
And I'm guessing members of the media are just kind of assumed as far as this, or
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, we can send out an invitation to the different media outlets.
I think that'd be good. I think we already had, we made a list for that when we had, like, we're gonna have a media open house or something.
Yeah, I think we did have a list put together on that.
Yep.
Okay, any other
Looks good to
thoughts?
me.
Um, Should we discuss a timeframe?
That's fine with me that we do, yeah.
Are you looking at me? Don't, I mean, I feel this should be somewhere in the, right now Kenny needs 4 to 5 weeks for his transition with all the stuff he has to do out there, as far as installing TVs, everything else. So I think from a substantial completion date, we should try to shoot for like 4 weeks out. So in the last week of Kenny being there, and it's not just Kenny, it's WCICC, could be the sheriff's office and making sure the staff's all trained, shakedown periods, stuff of that nature.
Okay.
Right now, Kenny spent, you wanna come up, Kenny? Last Friday, you just talk, you don't have to be, those are not on, this thing is picking it up. Last Thursday or Friday, I think last Thursday, we sat down and walked through a pretty extensive list of stuff that you have to get from the time that housing is done
Right.
to the time that we're ready to put people there. A pretty list of a lot of things, so
Yeah,
isn't that fair?
yeah, I've got a list. I think it's 8 pages long now. It's over 100 items. To give you an example, just one of the items is hang 48 TVs. So there's a pretty large scope of things that need to be done. They vary from mounting grip strut to wash machines for our automated soap system vendors. They range from changing lock cores to certain keys, just a whole bunch of various different items.
So there was some of the things that we needed to change going forward, but we started putting together a list, instead of having somebody else do it, Kenny could just do it with his people to save money and not have change orders on the project that had delays that came with them. So there's a substantial list of things that people wanted to, little tweaks to things, add an encounter to booking, a number of things that again aren't huge, it's just the amount, when you start getting to 100, it's the length of time it just takes to get that in coordination.
And there's some large items, like moving a cooler, freezer, in the existing facility to
Moving the new kitchen, getting that,
Yeah.
out there.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kenny. So, what's everyone's opinion? Do we wanna set a date today, or we wanna move to the next meeting and then set the date? What's everyone's thoughts on that?
I would like to throw something out, why don't you look for right after Labor Day, a time frame, let somebody pick. I mean, people get Labor Day off and stuff, but most people are back in school and, you've kinda got your fall set up now, you got your kids back in school, we're done with the state fair.
So, again, do we wanna set a date today, or do we want to, wait till the next meeting?
I'd like to wait till the next meeting. I'm just a little shy about setting dates. Right now.
I think that's a good idea.
And it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's not really on the agenda to make a decision on the date.
Yep, we can wait.
All right, so is there anything else, since that's not on the agenda, anything else that we wanna talk about that we can talk about that's not on the agenda?
So I think we're done with the open house then, right?
All right. We'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda, discussion on the LEC time capsule. And I have a document here. I don't know if you still have the ones that I introduced earlier, but I made a copy so that you each would have one. And I think you've got it on the record, but, you know, look at a copy that we've got there. All right. Again, we just had discussion on the agenda, so I'd like to just go through and maybe talk a little bit about your ideas on the time capsules, that there's information included there, which time capsule you're thinking that we might want to do, and since it's discussion only on the agenda today, we won't be able to select a time capsule, but if we could have a little discussion to get an idea where we're at on that, and then on the face of that document is a list of items that might be included in the time capsule, and we could maybe talk about that for a little bit. We do have a location in mind to mount the time capsule in the jail area behind the jail cells themselves, so it would be out of the way, would be mounted to the wall where someone can't walk off with it, and would be there so everyone would be able to see it and know it was there all the time.
Sure. Yeah, I think the list you've got here really encompasses what needs to be in that thing. And I've looked it over a couple times and thought about it, and I'm fine with everything that's on here.
On the list.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's all good relevant stuff.
All right. Any thoughts from anyone on the time capsule itself, on the examples we have there?
I think the only one I said was just make sure it's got a key or it's simplistic so that we don't have, batteries being corroded and messing up the key system or something like that. I think is the nice way.
Or a manual lock
Yeah,
that
some of the
would
manual
not be
locks that
controlled
we
by
could-
electronics, yes.
Yeah, that we could get into it easier than
All right.
not. That'd be my only recommendation.
All right. With that, please hang on to that document and bring it to the meeting. And at the next meeting, I think we'll probably have discussion and decision on what time capsule we want, and we can decide what we want to do about the list.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else on that? Very good. All right. Item number 7, discussion and action on LEC door key replications. And Shane Albrecht, would you like to talk about that for a little bit to give the other gentleman an idea of what we're looking at there?
Yes, we have an issue, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at the agenda that was passed out in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than the agenda that was sent out. So item 7 on it is what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Item 7 is around here for everybody in here, and it was passed out. Item 7 is discussion on PCO 137R.
Yes, okay.
So right now, Karen left to go check on what happened there. This is the latest agenda that Heather sent out after this policy came to, but I need to make sure, I'm gonna have to ask the attorney sitting here, need to make sure if it was on. You got a new agenda?
Yes.
Okay. And it is the agenda that went out to everybody, correct? Went out to the news.
She said yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Okay.
That one? Okay.
Thank you.
So sorry, just the one we handed out was not what.
I apologize, I wasn't
No.
here.
It's okay.
No, this is.
I just.
No. No, but you can have that, 'cause that's the one I've been working on.
The agenda with the packet is this one,
Yes,
with 7.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Heather said she sent this.
And
this was
and
the
both
one
of the
I got.
news media people that were here just nodded that this is the agenda. that both got.
That's the one I saw.
All right, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I had to get that, so
Not a problem.
No, that's
I
good.
could either figure out.
We wanna stay on proper track here. All right, so Shane Albrecht, would you like to talk a little bit about the item number 7?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it up on the screen right
All
now.
right,
so
no
everybody-
problem, no
and,
rush.
I had to. Alright. So basically, this would be one of the first of the policies by the authority. It says, the Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center Authority specifically authorizes only the Woodbury County Building Services Department or the LEC Board Chairman to replicate keys, key cores, and or lock set replacements. All other persons, party, Woodbury County departments, or the law enforcement are strictly prohibited. Prior to performing any of these services, the vendor is required to verify the identity, county ID of the person requesting the services. Questions regarding identity should be directed to Woodbury County Building Services, and a phone number is provided, okay? So this is a request to ask. So what goes on? Right now, all the keys out to the jail, clearly stamp on the back, do not duplicate, okay? For a chain of custody and control of the amount of keys that we have in a very secure facility, we need to send, right now, Building Services, Kenny, please. Building Services has put a policy in place that if you request a key, your supervisor has to give you authorization for it. I mean, Ron Wick had to have somebody sign off on him getting a key. I think even the sheriff did, so why don't you?
Correct, so it's the only way that we can really keep control of keys. So although a key says do not duplicate on it, someone can bring a key somewhere and have it duplicated, and they'll do it. Specifically, probably someone, with authority and or power. And so we want to make sure that we ensure that those keys don't get replicated. We want to ensure who has what key to what area. Some of the things that have been very important to the authority and to Hausman and Baker Group to date is a transfer of key is very important. If someone's getting a key to something, there's a transmittal letter that says Kenny's getting this key. So they know that Kenny has that key. We have some keys for this facility. There are probably only going to be maybe 2 people in the world that can have this key. I can't have one. And so the transfer of custody on a couple of keys won't even have my hands touching it. So that's why it's important that something can't get replicated and get in the wrong person's hands.
Is there other questions?
So what are you asking of us?
To allow Ron Wick to sign this, since it's a policy and procedure. We didn't feel the chairman could sign this without the authority's approval. That's why it's on there for discussion and action in case. We just didn't want Ron signing a policy.
So the chairman of the authority would be the only one that could authorize a key to be duplicated going forward.
Or Kenny.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Good, that's fine.
The one I have in front of me is dated 26th, probably should change it to the 30th, if we're gonna pass this today. Shouldn't we?
Oh, the document, yeah, that was,
Document that we signed.
so can we do a motion on that?
You just, when you do your motion to approve it, you asked, you'd like to change the date on the document, then it makes it, you'd like to make that correction.
I'll move that, make that motion.
Second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Thank you. Item number 8, discussion and action on PCOs 137R1, 138, and 139, and we begin with 137R1, and I'd call on Shane Albrecht to give us an overview of that.
Okay, would you like to come up? So, the very first one on the docket is, basically for $1,000, and it's to remove, the word van from 2 locations down the lower level, because when the parking lot got changed and altered, there's not enough space in between. So you gotta have 8 foot in between 2 to get somebody with a van to get out. So they're still able to be handicap parking spots, but they can't be van accessible because it doesn't meet the ADA requirement. So we still have plenty of van accessible parking spots. These two just cannot have that designation.
Correct. Yeah, and these are just outside the secure fenced area on the lower level on the west side.
Sure.
We would definitely have more than enough ADA parking spaces out there. There was no need to have all of them vans, which they all were throughout the entire site. But these two, with that narrowing of that unloading zone, we just had to change these to regular accessible parking spaces.
Okay.
Okay.
I move approval.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. PCO 138, and again, I call on Shane Albrecht, please.
So I'll have PCO 138 up on the screen in just a second. PCO 138 is basically the sheriff's office wanted some additional tables upstairs. So right now the facility has X number of tables per day room. On the second floor, they wanted to double that. When you have a table, you have to security caulk underneath of that. And because the sheriff's office added these tables, they also agreed to caulk underneath the tables. So the sheriff's office provided the tables, paid for them, not through the authority. The authority, because this is done by Houseman, has to pay for this. And then the sheriff's office can reimburse us for the caulking. So this is kind of we have to do it because we have the contract with Houseman,
Sure.
but then the sheriff's office can reimburse us for that money.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I move we pass 138.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. PCO 139, and again, Shane Albrecht, please.
Yeah, so PCO 139 is an accounting thing. So 139 is now up on the screen. Left for, there was 3 items left on PR 35R, fire dampers. We had not paid any general conditions, and we had not paid Suter and Thompson. Okay? So we had not paid Hausman, Suter and Thompson for the fire damper work,
Except for that,
except for
that small amount.
the small amount that we paid Suter, you're correct, sorry. Anyway, Suter and Thompson, this is the amount that we've agreed to pay them.
Yeah, after lengthy discussions with both Thompson and Suter, evaluation of Shane and Ron and myself and Kenny, I think everybody's in agreement, these are fair numbers to move forward and close these items out.
Any questions?
Is it, Jody, the 134,530?
Is for,
Something I saw earlier that said 162.
and that there was a prior smaller payment that we made, plus the 134 will equal that 162 to Suter, and then the 96 to Thompson. So
Is the only thing we paid to Thompson.
yes, and the 96s will be the only thing we pay to Thompson.
So-
So just to confirm, so Goldberg will be, has certified this pay app and these amounts as the reasonable cost for the fire damper work from these 2 subcontractors. So that's great, that's it. And then, so with that, I'm obviously recommending, Shane is recommending that we approve that. And then the remaining amount on that will be extended general conditions.
Yeah, so we had the estimate back in September, and
Yes.
we hadn't really paid anything as we negotiated through
Yes.
Correct.
what the legitimate charges were, and this is
Yes.
where we've ended up.
Yeah,
Which
we
is
requested
much
additional
lower than those initial numbers we got.
Yeah, when we had requested additional backup from those subcontractors to justify these costs and say it was kind of one of these things, they come down, they come up, thought it was fair. They had substantiated some of the requests with receipts and canceled checks and whatnot, so, yeah, we felt satisfied with these numbers are accurate.
So the question that you asked, Mr. Moore, is on pay up 32, we paid them like $27,802,
$27,000 some change, correct.
I think, and 30 cents. Back
That
up.
was the labor cost for installation of dampers at that time.
Yes.
We calculated, I think, 8 hours per damper.
9 hours per
9
day.
hours per damper.
Times the 35 dampers.
Yeah, so that's how we estimated that cost on that.
But at that time, we only paid that number, the 9 hours, times the 35 dampers, plus some lift rental. Okay, we did not have to pay for the dampers and some of the other work, the accessory pieces, cause we weren't in agreement on that.
Right.
So that's why you're seeing this number added to that.
Right.
Is we went through that and reviewed it, and this is what we say is
Like the
fair.
actual cost of the dampers, so they substantiated those costs and so we were satisfied.
Cause we had approved like scaffolding and some other stuff that we had paid.
Before, yeah, cutting the slab out, you know, the precast, areas out and miscellaneous stuff like that, scaffolding and some sprinkler stuff they had to move and, yeah, miscellaneous.
So with those prior expenses that we'd already approved in this, where are we at for a total,
So
roughly in regard to,
we'd be just over, almost $600,000.
I think the original request was almost 1.8 million.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 1.6, so we're, yeah, but-
The original request was 1.709 by the time they changed it after the first request. It was
so we're talking a little over $1.1 million that was taken off.
Correct.
That's correct.
Well, but then we have extended general conditions, which are Houseman is asserting, we're not paying those now because of the concurrent delays, and then that will be, so that is just set aside for now with all parties reserving rights. But we've taken care of now all of the underlying subcontractor and supplier invoices,
Okay.
and the amount certified and approved is lower than those amounts were in the original estimate.
Okay.
So,
So Thompson's original number in that estimate was 113, almost 114, it was like 113,784, 786.
Yeah.
And Suter's number was 320, like 322 or 27. It's somewhere in that range, it's over 300,000. So, again,
Sure.
just working through some things.
Well, I know this has been a long process for you, Joey, and for Ron, so I thank you for doing that, and I would move approval, PCO 139.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Passes 3-0. Thank you. Item number 9, discussion and action on PCCO 027, and I'll call on Shane Albrecht, please.
So this is the paperwork that puts us all together. So this just takes the 3 PCOs that we did and puts it into the document that they need to be able to be on the pay request. So if you have questions, it's all the PCOs you just approved, you're just approving so that it can go on the pay request.
Grouped, yep.
I'll move it.
Second? All in favor, aye? Passes 3-0. Item number 10 on the agenda today is information and update on the LEC project. And again, I call on Shane Albrecht from Baker Group to give us an overview, please.
Yeah, thank you. So, the chairman and myself have been out to the site, for quite a bit of the week, meeting with various people. So one of the things that we talked about in the last update was seismic bracing. So seismic bracing, by GGA spec, that's actually provided by Natroba, you have to get the vendor out to certify the install. So it's not the architect, it is the vendor to send somebody out. So the vendor did send somebody out, they arrived on Monday. They were on site by 7:30. They'll be here on Monday. They were here yesterday, and they'll be here today. They will finish their review of all the locations. So there's 292 locations that they'll be verifying. Plus, they have to verify all the hangers. So on a hanger in a seismic location, there's a tie strap that goes over the hanger that's different than the normal installation. So they'll be verifying all those. They will fly back to Georgia, and they will be then writing a report to tell about if there's deficiencies or corrective measures that need to happen. That report will be written and processed in the next, hopefully, week or so. We will be asking tomorrow from Hausman what the time frame on us seeing the report is, because it is one of the steps that we have to have before we can hit substantial completion.
So the work is done pending if there's corrective
Corrective
measures,
measures.
but we can't sign off on the substantial completion until we've got that report that everything's kosher.
Correct.
among other things.
Sure, yeah,
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 yep.
which I'm sure you're gonna get to that, but, okay.
So that's kind of That's kind of where that sits.
So then like are the ceiling tiles still out so that they can look up there at the raising, that kind of stuff?
I'll get there, but I'll answer your question for everybody. So Hausman went through, starting a week ago, replacing all the ceiling tile with new tile that had been damaged or disturbed. There is a massive stack of damaged ceiling tile in the garage. And the only reason they're keeping track of the amount of ceiling tile that's in the garage is because they ordered replacement ceiling tile. It came with the wrong lot on it. We allowed the houseman to use our, what I'll call attic stock of ceiling tile to replace that so they can keep going. And they will just replace all the tile they took out of our attic stock with new tile for us with the right lot number. So, walking through the building, all ceilings are back in as of this morning, with the exception of master control. Okay? Master control today is having the ceiling grid reinstalled, and they hope to have it padded out by the end of the week.
Okay.
So that's a plus. The scaffold's down. The ductwork that's been up there has been insulated. The installation of that ductwork is part of PR 50. Okay? PR 49 work is relatively complete. It will be complete for sure by Monday. Everything has been balanced the first time. There's a couple areas they got to come back and recheck. And for everybody's knowledge, as I talked about PRs, PR 49 is replacement of some fan power boxes, replacing of some control valves, some balancing valves that were manual valves. It's all work that's been going on literally since November 29th when the first piece of ASI 10 came out. The first PR, which is PR 42, came out just beginning part of January. We've got letters and other things that have moved on. We've got an ASI 11. PR 49 took it all and summed it into one thing and made it one item. So there is no longer an ASI 10, that's an issue. There's no longer PR 42, PR 42R, PR 43, PR 45, PR 46, PR 48, 49, this is 49R. So right now, we got a little bit of work to finish on 49R, a little bit of rebalancing, and then our focus that we'll be talking about is PR 50R. Okay? PR 50R, for everybody's knowledge, is master control, the sound wrapping of that and the adding of one more diffuser. It's adding a sound blanket to AHU3 and some legs coming down, the supply and the return duct. What I mean by legs, it's just sound lighting that's coming down 42 inches and I think 36 inches down the two things to try to slow down the sound levels. PR 50 is basically built to help us sound. Okay? Kevin?
No, that's pretty much wraps it up. Yeah, we're just trying to deal with some acoustical issues with the noise levels on the air handling unit and some of the VAV boxes, so.
So now I'm going to go with the bad news. Last week was issued last Thursday, was issued PR 52. We found out that the heating coil inside of AHU3 is not big enough. Mr. King?
I know you're gonna explain in some issues with our heating coil and AHU3. And I'll let Shane speak to that and also this next comment that I'm going to make, but, what I want everyone to understand is when Shane says we, he doesn't necessarily mean Mark or Kenny, maybe sometimes Kevin, maybe sometimes Todd that works with Baker. But when he says we, he means the people that help support him and the people that help support Woodbury County and the authority. So Baker's contract with the authority what most people understand is, Shane's just kind of a point guard here. He relies on a whole bunch of people in his office. In other words, if we see a problem, it might be a sound problem, it might be a fire damper problem, it might be some other problem, it might be an HVAC heating cooling problem, or a noise problem. He has some specific people that work for Baker Group in his office that he relies on. So he'll make a phone call and say, hey, this might be Dale, or it might be John, or it might be Dan, who we've all called on this project for assistance from the Baker Group. So Shane's the one sitting in his chair every meeting, but he has a whole group of people that we call upon. Sometimes I call upon, and they've all told me if you have an issue, call, and we do that. Not all companies have that support. Most companies that provide you an owner's rep contract don't provide you that level of support. So I just thought it needs to be said, and the public needs to hear it. We may not like why the jail has been delayed, and we very much may dislike it, but we have to identify and correct the problems that we can before we get in there. I can't imagine opening a jail and this December we hit 5 degrees below zero and I have a whole detention area that I can't get over 60 degrees. Can you imagine that?
No.
So I'll let Shane take over from here.
Thank you, Kenny.
So, we were evaluating different things when we we're talking sound levels, and we've been working on the control strategy for HE3. What kept coming back to us was when you hit 0 degrees outside with the amount of outside air that's coming in this unit, are we sure that we can actually heat this building? And our expert, as well as myself and others, kept asking Natroba to walk through the design of a coil. They said it was fine to start with, okay? They then came back at a meeting and said, nope, a coil's not fine. We need to take our coil from a single row coil, which means it just has one row of water tubing going through it, to a double row. You can have a single row, double row, and triple row in this unit. And you put it in there based upon your design parameters and stuff. So we were replacing a single row coil with a double row coil. Okay? That's what PR52R is. There's some beauties about the jail. These coils can be swung to the roof. The work can be done on the roof. And there's a stair tower too that was designed to have access from the outside, so if you needed a new washer, dryer, or anything else, you could come in through that door to get right into a back mechanical chase, or you can go on up the stairs, because it's also, if there was a fire event, it's how the inmates would go outside, okay? So it can be locked off from the rest of the jail. It can be allowed so that the workers can go up to the roof and do this work without ever having to set foot inside the actual jail piece of it. They would just be in a stair tower. The coils will be swung on the roof so as not to damage the roof. So that crane will sit in a parking lot on the north side. Again, can be out of the way of everybody else that normally gets there. The coils don't have to be replaced until it hits 0. So under most years, most times, you're talking, as long as we get these coils replaced by November, you should not worry about that stuff. We very rarely get 0 degree days that stay for very long in November. Not a meteorologist, but I'm just telling you from what I've seen for history, you don't usually have to worry about those days. So that being said, we feel that I guess the question you haven't asked, how long does it take to get new coils? Well, a upon approved shot drawings, we've seen from Introba that you can get one in 2 to 3 weeks. The contractor has to buy the coil, so that, what has to happen is, Train has to send them the coil, the new coil performance. They have to submit it to Introba, Introba has to approve it. When they approve it, a new coil comes, okay? That's kinda how that process works, okay? The other bad news, the final approved, sound lighting blankets are gonna take 8 weeks to get here. They're custom made, there's no direct ship, so when I talk about taking these sound lighting and lining the inside of AHU3 and coming down in the ductwork and stuff like that, that material takes 8 weeks to get, okay? All that work can also be done from the roof. The only thing that would ever have to happen inside the jail with that is if somebody dropped a hanger or clip, somebody would have to get down in the ceiling to get it back, so minimal disturbance inside the jail. Okay, so again, the work can be done from the roof. So basically, we've gotta get master control put back together, get the diffusers installed and stuff like that, and then, so there's a list of things. We gotta get the Nelson elevator inspected, or elevator 6 for everybody else that doesn't know where the Nelson elevator is. The inspector has turned to radio silence. We don't know what it's gonna take. We have a call on that again tomorrow to try to get some resolve to that. We've gotta have the answers on the seismic bracing report to have substantial completion. We've gotta have the final test and balancing report from Suter. We had to work through these issues with AHU3. So, the Nelson elevator. I said there's 4 things that we have to have. Now, there's a lot of great things going on. There's some punch list items out there on the caulk in the parking lot installed at the wrong temperatures. They literally have had a crew of probably 10 people out there. They're grinding out all the caulk, recaulking it, and I walked it. It looks great. They did a good job where there was little chips in there. They actually took a tool in there and made it smooth. So the performance of this looks a ton better. We had a meeting this morning about the weeds, and they hired a new landscaper. We got a good plan on how to proceed with the weeds. The weeds, if it hadn't rained on Monday, the weeds would already be shredded right now. He walked the site today, had a meeting with us for about 30 minutes, and he said the stand of grass that's actually under the weeds is perfect. This site looks better, other than some really tall buttonweeds. It looks like how it's supposed to. And the grass that's supposed to be out there is a limited mow grass. You should only mow it 2 to 3 times a year, because you want it to go to seed, then you want it to shred and regrow a little bit. There is some areas that need to be reseeded. That window doesn't open up till September 15th to reseed these areas, but that's tracking good. There was a spot in the main hallway that was damaged. We'll have somebody there to fix that, buff, polish and re-wax the floor next week. We had an issue with the front door that we brought up before. We had a meeting at 10 o'clock today with the front door people. They offered us the same warranty. So these doors are powder coated, so there's no fixing scuffs or scratches in them. There's one door that looks horrible. They asked today, this is Blankenship Meyer, they asked today if they provided the exact same warranty that Conair does, would we accept them taking it to a local powder coat and get it done so it doesn't have a delay? Because if we wait for a new door from Conair, they said it's probably 20 weeks before you would see it. You still have a door the front door on there, so you're not without a door, okay? But it would take 20 weeks. We looked at that, so if the door had a problem or failed, we're still calling Blankenship Meyer to come out and fix it. The only difference is that Blankenship Meyer has to have to pay for it if Conair's warranty. The warranty looked identical. We will get GJ's approval on the warranty before we move on. Jeremy, would you step up here so we get back to protocol, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, I know July 29th was a big day because that's when we were promised again and again and again
were reassured, and now we're obviously behind that. You cited 4 or 5 major, I think, issues that are gonna take a couple of weeks, seems like on each one, but we're learning as supervisors yesterday on the day that we were supposed to be completing this kind of pattern. Here's another thing. And so I guess my question is twofold. What's the estimated substantial completion date now? And then as far as the public that we've been hearing from, what assurance do we have that we're not gonna get to that date? And then there's gonna be another, oh, we didn't know about this. And how can we assure or talk to them and say, this actually is the last one? Because it seems like we get to the date and it's not the last one. And we find out as supervisors on that date. So July 29th, yesterday, we're finding out seismic bracing, which I didn't know it's gonna take at least a week or two to be signed off now. Assuming that passes, I didn't realize when we first learned of it, it was a multi-week thing. None of us saw it coming as supervisors, maybe some did, I didn't. But how do we answer, okay, what's the new substantial completion date? When we get to it, how can we tell the public, those of us, you know, we're receiving the calls, this isn't going to be, oh, by the way, here's another thing. And I do appreciate we're catching these things, but, you know, you and I have helped open 6, 7 schools with the school district. I don't remember one air hammer having a coil that was undersized. So we have 40, 50 over 7 nodes. So that's my twofold question.
Good. So, first and foremost, I want to remind everybody what I said at our last open meeting to the public. Our target was the end of July to the first week of August. So the 29th was we never picked a date, it was the end of July. End of July is until tomorrow, I never picked the 29th.
I heard that releases, but go ahead.
If I did, I don't ever remember picking a date. We've been very specific about never picking a date. It's always been end of July. To first part.
July 31st, let's say tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's never been the 29th, it's always been the end of July, which end of July is whoever defines it, okay? We thought seismic bracing, Kevin and myself, thought seismic bracing would be literally done today because seismic bracing, the people were coming in, they needed 2 days, okay? Assume they were gonna write the report, because that's the information we got, they were coming in, they're gonna be done in 2 days. Assume they're gonna write the report, we would have it at the end of the day tomorrow. When we met with the people on Monday, he said, no, we'll be filling out all our stuff to go back and do our calculations, and then you'll get the report. Okay? It's just something we have to deal with, because we're learning this live just like you. We're working on a control strategy issue, and we find out last week we've got a coil problem, okay? The contractor can do the coil without affecting the speed of the building, okay? Elevator 6 is supposed to have been approved. So we're doing the best we can at picking a date with a number of variables. The answer to your question about how can we reassure the public that this is the last thing we'll find? I'm sorry, I don't have the crystal ball to the best of my ability. I think we're finding the most stuff we can, but if something comes up, we try to make you aware when we know the answers. We don't try to be pessimistic. We try to be optimistic that we can get this thing open and then we can work through these hurdles.
So you have a date that you're releasing to the public now, where it said, is that something? I
Yep,
haven't
that's-
seen one, so.
It's in the press release.
It'll be in the press release.
I'd like to say one thing.
Oh, and we haven't read that. I mean, we can certainly
He
talk
will,
about.
he will.
Yeah.
I'd like to say one thing, and this has been my commitment, and I believe the commitment of the other members of this authority and Shane's commitment, is that anything that we find that is not right on this facility, that will allow this facility to be utilized for decades, we're gonna stop and make sure that it's corrected and things are being done correctly. Early on, things happen that we have no control over, and we're finding them as we move through the process. But the control we do have is to make sure they're properly repaired and that this facility is built and constructed properly. That's our commitment, and we will be here to the end. I will be anyway on that commitment.
And I would just emphasize too, I mean, right now we're waiting on others. So we're waiting on this elevator to be inspected, which we asked for back in June. And so other than, right, it was even before that.
Yeah, we asked for it before, but June 24th was the date the elevator station inspection was supposed to be done by, not happen,
Yeah.
completed by.
And so we're waiting for state elevator inspector to do that. And then the seismic bracing we found out about most recently that yes, they were on site, they're on site today and yesterday, but then they have to go
Thank you.
back, issue a report, and then if there are any corrective action, then that has to be done. We're waiting on the testing and balancing report. We should get that soon. And those are things that we're waiting on others. We were hopeful, like Shane said, I think we're all we try to be optimists and realists, but we were hopeful they would get done by the end of July, and so we're still waiting on others. So as noted in the press release that Ron or Shane will go through, we think the earliest substantial completion is the second week of August. And we'll obviously continue to update the public. And as we've talked about, to the extent all of these delays are caused by others, which they are, they're not our delays, they're caused by other various parties, all of the damages will be damages that we claim against those liable parties. And we are doing everything we can to control what we can control, but right now, there are just things we're waiting on from others. We're hopeful that these will be completed in the next 2 weeks. And then in regard to like the heating coil, I mean, that was something that luckily we did discover just last week. I'm glad, we didn't get till winter and then it was discovered, so.
Right, I'm appreciative it's caught before opening. It's atypical that this happens in my experience. And this hasn't been just one. This is, whether it's reach 62 degrees, the walls falling down, the fire dampers, the seismic bracing, AHU3 sound, so the public we are hearing from. And I think there's been a loss of confidence that the second week of August means anything without finding we've got good news and we've got bad news. And since September, when we were looking for an update last year, we're hitting almost a year mark and we're hearing about it. And that's something that, I feel, I can't speak for the rest of the board, how will this affect and concern.
I got one comment, I'm gonna read this. Kevin, you and I feel powerless to correct some of these things because we can't control the people that come there and we can't control what's going on.
Right.
And I don't have a crystal ball to figure these things out until there's a problem. So I appreciate your sentiment, but we feel helpless. Ron, we've talked, we have that same feeling, Jeremy, and we're the ones in it every day, and we feel helpless sometimes because we can't control the manpower, we can't control what they're doing, and we can't control lead times on stuff that come.
We're not walking away from it. It's going to be done and it's going to be done correctly. And I'm sorry that things have come up like they have. There are things that are not in our control. But they ultimately end up in our control because we're going to fix them.
And we've also analyzed what's the best option for the authority in the county when we hit these issues. And it's continuing forward with the contractor we have and the design professionals we have. And that's gonna be how we get the project done efficiently and without even further delay. But I mean, obviously we continue to analyze all of our options. So we do think we are at the home stretch. But like with the heating coil, that just came up last week. We're glad we found it and we're dealing with it. And right now, our best estimate is what's in the press release. But no, we can't
And
guarantee that
Excuse
we're
me,
not
we
gonna
need to
find
get the
something
press
else.
release out because we're coming up on 3 o'clock.
Okay, reading press release for immediate release. The authority's focus continues to be working with Housing Construction and Goldberg Group on the completion of the project. PR 50R was issued on July 9th to replace the previously issued PR 50, issued on June 12th. CCD 16 was issued on July 9th of 2024 to replace the previously issued CCD 015, so that the work can begin immediately and before pricing is determined. As previously noted, PR 50 and now PR 50R is in regard to fixing the noise control levels in master control and secondary control, which are beyond the appropriate levels. The necessary work in master control is currently being performed. In regard to secondary control, the authority and its experts are of the opinion that changes to secondary control are the first steps needed to resolve the issue. The second step is to work with control and the authority's experts on a control strategy to reduce the amount of return air. PR 52 was issued on July 25th and is for the replacement of the heating coil in AHU3. Heating coil was a single roll heating coil and the new coil will be changed to a double roll heating coil. CCD 17 was issued on July 26, 2024. In regard to PR 52, so that the work can begin while pricing is negotiated. PR 52R was issued on July 29th, which clears up the confusion regarding the wording of PR 52. PR 52 gave the appearance that Introba was purchasing the new coil. CW Suter will now be purchasing the new coil after approved shop rings. The revised CCD 017R was issued on July 29th. As previously noted in early July, other pending items were the missing seismic bracing required by code because of the low soil at the new LEC on the fire suppression system that was not installed by Hausman Construction's subcontractor. The new installed seismic bracing is being inspected this week by an independent third-party inspector as required by the project specs to certify the installation and provide a certification report. Until the authority receives the report, the authority cannot confirm the seismic bracing is completed. The authority is issuing this press release in its continued commitment to keep the public apprised of the changes regarding the substantial completion date. The authority is waiting on others in regard to solutions on secondary control levels, the certification report for seismic bracing, the work associated with PR 52R. Once these solutions are provided, the authority will be able to evaluate the effect of these solutions on the substantial completion date. With the information the authority currently has, the earliest substantial completion date would be the second week of August. The authority and the county continue to be damaged by the law enforcement center being delayed. The authority and its council continue to assess the additional costs and damages on the project caused by the actions, inactions, or concurrent delays by Housing and Goldberg Group's engineer and Troller, and will hold the responsible parties liable for such additional costs and damages.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane.
So AHAQ, air handling unit 3 that needs the bigger coils, was that a design flaw from the beginning of the, that was?
Yes,
So does that go on Introba then?
yes,
So it's another Introba issue?
yes.
Lovely. Okay. And I know that we have talked about getting the elevator inspector here for at least 2, if not 3 meetings. Which
3
would
meetings.
Span, 6 weeks. So, but you haven't been able to get in contact with him.
He's not, since he called Kenny and I back in June with some concerns and wanted some letters. Kevin provided one of the letters. Coney did not provide the exact letter that he wanted, but did provide him a letter just like was asked. So we're just at his mercy.
And then the work in master secondary control as far as Suter's work, where are they at on theirs, installing some of these valves and things? Is that all?
Valves?
Or diffusers or whatever?
Diffuser, they're waiting on we haven't installed the diffuser in master control, and they will do that after the ceiling goes back in.
Oh, okay, sure.
So ceiling, like I said, will be completed by Friday. They're working on it today.
Sure.
And then Sue will come with their drop in and drop in their diffusers.
Okay.
I just asked one last clarifying question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, appreciate it. So you had mentioned that the air handler 3 doesn't need to be replaced until it hits a design day, or was I misunderstanding that work needs to be done before substantial completion and the testing, balancing, and all that?
No, it does not.
It does not, so that's not the critical path.
It's not the critical path, it's not gonna affect substantial completion, because that work can all be done from the roof. I think that answers the question you're asking.
Right, they can shut down ventilation and.
They can shut it down for a short time,
Okay.
it's a 3-section coil, pull out each of the 3 sections, and
They
then
don't work like testing and balancing and all of that with a different coil. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
all right.
Very good. Thank you, Shane. All right, item number 11 on our agenda today is to go into closed session and,
I would like to wait, get the rest of these items off, and then come back to the closed session if possible.
I'm not sure what your,
He'd like to delay the closed session.
We'll
to
just
3
do
o'clock
public
time
concerns
To
and
do public and
authority concerns and come back to closed session.
you wanna make a motion to that effect, or?
I think we can just skip over, can we?
since it has a set time, I think you probably need a motion.
Yeah, let's do that.
I voted to delay the start of the closed session until we have finished public concerns and authority board member concerns.
So,
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 12 then is public concerns.
I thought we had changed the order. I'm sorry, I wasn't here at the start of the meeting, but I thought we had changed that.
That's my understanding, we needed to change it before we approved the agenda.
William Burrows, 4409 47th Street, Sioux City. First of all, I would like to thank Dennis Butler for all the work that he's done on this project and for the county in general under some very, very difficult circumstances. So Dennis, if you're out there, thank you very much. Second of all, as a citizen, I kind of feel like I'm standing in line at Universal Studios in Orlando, trying to get onto the Tower of Terror. Because every time you make a little progress, you turn a corner, and it's like, and I understand things are out of your control, but my question at this point is, Kenny's got a big list, and I'm interested in the sequence of what's going to happen once. I mean, we're on the back nine, I hope. So about what hole are we on? Are we getting, how close are we getting to the clubhouse?
My opinion on that scenario, we're teeing off on hole number 18. Okay?
We're that close. We're within par. Okay. Thank you. Now, once we get this done, once this gets done, who's gonna be the first occupants? The existing inmates that we have here, or is it gonna be federal prisoners? Do we know that? I guess the sheriff's not here.
So none of that is in the authority's purview to decide. That's all the sheriff's office choices. All we can do is provide the building to the tenants. The sheriff office controls what the inmates are.
Okay, so once he gets a green light, then he decides
How it goes.
Okay, I can have to check. I don't know if he ever made that trip. He was talking about a couple of weeks ago or not, but I can check with him too. I think that's it. So, no, it isn't. Because Mr. Chairman Wick talked about being around until this gets completed.
Excuse me, 30 seconds.
Okay. So what is the succession plan? When does the authority cease to exist? And what's it, when if you go down, then what happens?
When the bonds are paid off,
That's 40 years from now, right?
20 years,
20 years.
roughly 20 years.
Okay. So how do you replace members? I mean, is there a succession plan in place?
So basically, Mr. Nelson is a supervisor employee.
Just time, so please finish your statement.
So Mr. Nelson is supported by the supervisors. When the authority was built, the members were on a stagger of 2 years. So Dan Moore was only on for 2 years, so his term started in 2020 was when the term started. He was on for 2 years. He was reappointed by the city council. So Dan Moore is appointed by the city council. Mark Nelson replaced Rocky DeWitt when Rocky got appointed to the Senate.
Right.
And he to finish out Rocky's term. So Dan was on for 2 years, Rocky was on for 4, got reappointed in 24 for another 6 years, so you're on for 6 years.
Okay.
So Dan was just reappointed as well, he's on for 6 years, Ron's term will expire, I think it's January 1st of 26.
And by Iowa code, whoever the representative is from the Board of Supervisors cannot live in the city limits of Sioux City.
Right.
So I'm legally the only person from the board that can serve on this body
Right.
at the current time.
Right.
And Chairman Wick is appointed by both the city council and the board of supervisors. It's an at-large position that's appointed by both the council and the supervisors.
I believe a 4/5 vote, is that by both to approve?
Is it a supermajority?
I thought it was just a majority vote.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a simple majority by both. That's in the bylaws. I haven't read the bylaws. I apologize for probably 4 years.
That's what you guys voting for.
I don't remember either. I think it's a simple
Do
majority.
you see where that good country living landed me?
Yeah, yeah, you're not getting off of this, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public concerns?
I realize that I may have more limited time, so if I have some of my time, I'll start. So my question is, you've been doing this a long time and you're great at what you do. Can you speak to how this air handler 3 issue was discovered? We're not on a design 0-degree day. And so right now, being a year, I remember, we're hitting almost a year that the board of supervisors invited the LEC Authority to come and talk about why aren't we open, right? And I never imagined we'd be a year later. But to discover this now, how does that happen? I mean, normally you have an HVAC schedule, right? All mechanical, here's the gallons per minute, CFM, here's the amount of space, it's a calculation. How does that happen and how is it discovered? Because I'm sure those kind of questions will be asked. How do you discover that July 15th or 29th when it's 90-some degrees out? And there's been, you alluded to being in this 4 years. How does that happen?
Sure. How it happens is, first off, as you alluded to, and as I probably alluded to for most of my career, you have a schedule. It comes. You have somebody that puts the schedule together. Quite frankly, to not spend a forever amount of time, design professionals don't even do that much work in quote design anymore. They literally give these information, they give their parameters to train or whoever their basis of design is, and they actually tell them what coil will meet the performance of what they've got. Okay? So you had a calamity of errors. Okay? One, the first error that happened was we had 2 different leading air temperatures. They looked at different things for the coil sizing and different stuff. There's an energy wheel in here that they thought they were going to pick up heat off of. Well, when you run the actual numbers and what they changed it to an ASI 10, we're picking up very little reheat off of that. So when you're hitting so we have 21,810 CFM of air directly exhausted to the atmosphere because of COVID and everything else when this was designed. All the air from the back of the cells is actually exhausted out of constant volume fans on the corners of the building. Okay? So that air is not coming back to take energy off of or anything right now. It's just blowing out to the atmosphere. So when you look at the parameters of what they designed for, that air was missing. So that reheat coil, even though it's there, didn't have the efficiency that it's supposed to have. So when you hit a 0-degree day, it couldn't warm the air up past 55 degrees.
So someone from Baker is reviewing this now and seeing, hey, this isn't going to make it when it's December 24th or.
It's been a joint effort between, our engineers, RCD, the utilities engineer, and Baker Group as well, Dale Trent, LEPs. And so it's been a group effort trying to get this resolved as they go back and backtrack since the original design engineers no longer with the firm, hasn't been for a while, somebody else picked it up,
Any other public concerns? Okay, item number 13 on our agenda is authority board member concerns.
Nothing further here.
So do we still have concurrent delays going forward then?
Well, we have a lot of things going on. As far as, we have several things going on right now. So we have seismic bracing, but we also have other things going on. So, at this point, I would say we're analyzing where we're at right now with this last period of time. So, we're still looking at it basically at this point.
Do you think you'll get the seismic raising report this week, or do you think it'll be next week? Who knows?
We don't have a clue yet. We'll know tomorrow.
That's all.
Okay. With that, then I think we go back to item number 11, our closed session. Make motion. All in favor, aye?
Okay, a second.
Aye.